What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Happy Friday. Welcome to another episode of Unspoken Truth. I am your host, Tanise. Let's get into it. Tonight's episode is Surviving Human Trafficking. I'm going to just wait for my guest to pop on in. Not this time, I have a guest. Sorry, babe. I hope everybody enjoyed their week. I hope your Friday is doing just as good as the rest of your week. But this is a topic that we need to discuss, and it's happening way too often. Cheeky baby, what up? Let's get into it. Let's Cheeky. So let me
Hello.
introduce you to my show. This is the lovely Cheeky. Okay, that's her. The name she affectionately goes by. Okay. I titled tonight's episode as Surviving Human Trafficking. Because I think that's pretty fitting for your story, where you been, how
Yeah,
we got to this point. Because and shout out to you. I appreciate you posting, letting all your followers and stuff know what's going
first.
on. This might be the opportunity where they even get to know you a little bit better. Because you gonna share some stuff that you probably did not share with a lot of people. So I'm hoping that we can help other women learn how to be vulnerable and just
Yeah.
tell their truth and their story. Your story and your truth, it is what it is, you know. Um, I guess I'll shoot because I got so much crap. We didn't talk so many.
That's
um,
so much.
I like to start from the beginning, really. Like, you know, where a person come from, so then I can have a better understanding on where they at and where they going, because everybody has, I like to call it a pattern of events that didn't happen in their life that led them to where they currently are. So
Mm,
talk about like your upbringing, your childhood, like what was that like for you?
um. hmm. So the whole father situation. Um. My dad left me when I was 2.
Okay.
He had another woman, actually 5 months pregnant when he met my mom.
Mm.
Um. My mom was also a pastor and a minister, so I'm a preacher's kid. Yeah. I'm definitely a preacher's kid. But once she remarried, what was I? I want to say I was in like middle school. When she got remarried, my stepdad, the person I call my dad now, he's more so on the Muslim end. So
Okay.
it was, let's step away from the Christian aspect of church and, look at it differently.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, my childhood wasn't really crazy being tiny. Stuff really got crazy once I got older. I want to say around high school. High school is when, yeah.
Cause I'm so glad that you like, okay, let's get to the juicy stuff. And like I'm tell it and tell it all. And I really appreciate you for just letting me utilize my platform for you to do so, for you to just tell your truth.
Of course.
Stuff didn't start going crazy for you until high school. Now, again, for the people who just now joining, that don't know what tonight's topic is, it's surviving human trafficking. Uh, I, I, I'd like to see the street life. Um, a lot of people can resonate with that, including myself, as far as the streets and the different things that come with being out there. But can you just kind of talk about like the whole human trafficking experience? Like, was that during like high school or was that like later on in life?
Um, that came after high school. Like I said,
Well,
well, but
let's start about with the high school stuff because you
yeah.
certain things about that. you were telling me during our interview, like you was with your high school sweetheart, and y'all was engaged, and you thought that that was how life was going to move forward, but that's not how things played out. Like, kind of talk about what was going on in your life when you was in high school that kind of changed your perspective.
So high school, I was in high school in a whole different city. I grew up in Houston, but my
Oh,
high school was in Austin, a predominantly white high school. So I'm the ghetto black girl from Houston coming to this school, new, and I only knew one person there, which was my cousin.
okay.
Um, so the start of high school was cool, and seeing as though my cousin was an upperclassman, I didn't hang around a lot of freshmen. I was around the juniors and the seniors, all of the older kids. I met my high school sweetheart really on an app. It was long distance. It was a long distance relationship. Met him on an app. And freshman year was the first time I like had this whole traumatic. Long story short, I had a crush on a guy. He was older than me. He had a girlfriend, so I kept my distance. But him being older than me and me being a freshman, he was trying to take me under his wing. Yeah, that high school. He was trying to take me under his wing and everything of that sort. And one day he told me to meet him in the hallway. And mind you, I had a friend with me at the time. And she knew about him. They were friends or whatever. And she texted me and was like, "Hey, oh boy wants you to come and meet him." And I'm like, "I'm in class, but all right, I'm coming." And she takes me to him. Basically, it's like, "I'll be back." And then he just like starts taking my clothes off right there in that, like, in the stairwell. So that was that first experience. And after that, one person saw us, which was one of the main reasons why mm, I felt so gross because somebody saw it happening, didn't say anything.
Mm.
And then he started going back and telling everybody I was a hoe and I threw myself at him. Yeah.
Mm. And I can, for a lot of young women, I'm sure they can relate to that because
Mhm.
that's when you start to try to figure yourself out, what you like and don't like, and what's good for you and what's not. To be taken advantage of at such a young age, because high school is still young. That's not like you grown and you got all the experience in the world. You still young. You still experiencing and learning new things. Like, so I'm pretty sure that that was extremely traumatic. Like, talk about like the events leading up to like you experiencing that first experience, like that being taken advantage of,
I
and
cried.
like change the trajectory of your life. Because I know a lot of times when stuff traumatic happens to us, it changes the direction in which we would have been going if that wouldn't have occurred. It
Hmm.
makes sense. I don't think a lot of people ask the necessary questions, to kind of get the answers to how somebody is feeling. At that moment, did you like talk to your parents? Like, who knew what was like going on with you to be able to try to intervene or try to stop what was happening?
Nobody.
So you just kind of kept this to yourself.
My mom
Besides the
found out when I was 18 and she cried. She was mad I didn't tell her.
and why do you feel like you didn't tell her? Do you feel like you was like ashamed, or do you think that you was like it was you felt guilty, or like what was the reason why you chose to? Because when you answer that, then I'm going to explain why I'm asking that, because I don't like to call it a victim. I like to call it a survivor. uh
Well, in that aspect, at the time, like, that's going back to me and my mom's relationship. We're both Geminis, so that's a rocky relationship. And being in high school, for the longest, I was asking for birth control just to slow down my cycle.
mm,
Because I cramped back. I was asking for birth control for that, but in her head, no, I'm asking for birth control so I could be fast and go and do something unprotected.
mm, mm,
Um, I couldn't get my belly button pierced because I want to be fast and show my belly off. So in my mind, it's like, if I come and tell you what happened, are you gonna think that was me being fast and that was me,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm just trying to cover up a story, or are you gonna listen to me? So I don't know. It was one of them situations where I didn't really go to her with a lot of stuff like that. When it came to guys, when it came to my body, I mm-mm.
See, and the reason why I think this is so important is because the flip side of the coin to that is a lot of children or young people do tell. They do speak up and nothing gets done. Um, I'm definitely a product of that, of me thinking I'm doing the right thing because this is what I've been told. If somebody ever violate, touch, or whatever, this is what you're supposed to do, and completely feeling like abandoned. Like
Yeah.
I'm waiting for you to show up. Not to say that you're supposed to be riding on a horse or nothing like that, but a child is expecting their parents to show up for them, especially in certain situations like this, because it's not just a physical abuse, it's also a mental and emotional abuse. And I think that those two by themselves, because they are not physically seen, a lot of times they get overlooked.
Mhm.
Well, people like, well, shoot, I don't see no scars,
Yep.
or no bruises, so that can't be what's going on with you. Um, and that's very hurtful. I feel like it made me numb to a lot of things.
Mhm.
Started feeling like this what I'm supposed to be doing then. Since when I did say or do or whatever, nobody showed up for me. So maybe this is the life I'm supposed to be living, since nobody seems to think it's something wrong with it. You know what I mean? Like, I have to put myself back in the shoes of a little kid. You know what I'm saying? We grown now, but you reflect a lot. And I
Yes.
think the thing about certain types of abuse, although the scars are gone, although the bruises are no longer visible, you still play certain things over in your mind. I feel like that's like the captivity of abuse, where it's all mental, because you can't tell me not to think about it or to remember it or forget about it. And I think a lot of people feel like because I'm not being vocal about it, then that means that it's not as bad as what I'm sure.
Mhm.
And that makes it that much harder for people to speak up when stuff is happening to them, because it's like, okay, you just gonna pass it off as another story to tell
Right.
or something to gossip about. I don't think that it's being taken as seriously as it should be, especially with the alarming rate of human trafficking across this country. You talked about being from Houston. Like Houston, I mean, I did a 2-part episode on human and child trafficking. Houston is
Houston is
a
bad.
very state and city for this very thing. And I talked about even my city and state and a lot of states down south. It's a clear path from up north to straight down south. And then you can branch off whichever direction you want to go in. But I don't think that enough attention is being brought to the actual issue at hand. We
Yep.
know about it. We watching people go missing every day. But what are we doing to ensure that this don't continue, even past our generation and the future generations to come, if we not even being vocal about it? If we not discussing the uncomfortableness? Because this is a very uncomfortable conversation to be having. I mean, you having this conversation with me and to the public, but I'm just saying, like, when it comes to the people that we supposed to trust, that
Yeah.
that we choose to have confidence in or confide in, like, hey, this is what's going on with me, and I'm expecting you to show up for me a certain way, and I'm not getting that. And I think that kind of sets the stage and the tone for you kind of assuming certain things, regardless to if they've been told to you or not. It's like, well, shoot, this is not happening, so maybe this is why. And then you kind of venture off in a certain direction that you probably don't belong in.
Mhm.
Let's talk about like after high school, because that's when you were saying like this is when I went through the most traumatic like experience, because you talked about being kidnapped at 21.
Yeah. Um, I got kidnapped by a pimp. I had my first pimp after high school, after me and that high school sweetheart didn't work out. Um, like I said, in high school, I went to school with his sister. So I knew who he was. I knew I had to wait till I was 18. I got my first pimp then, but it was just things going on in that situation. I left. So I was back solo by myself, and one of those nights after work, we was on the highway and just speaking to someone, telling them your gas can is open. You know, you left it open. Asked for a number. We start exchanging conversation. It was just a night. I don't even want to say naive, but this is why they tell y'all you don't talk to strangers, because it was one of those I can take you out on a date, and then he came to pick me up, and I never went home. Like, hmm. Like
Mm.
I said, I don't even want to say kidnapped half the time. I'd rather say I was held for ransom and I had to pay my own ransom. So it was,
I just kind of, whoa, because this is a lot to even try to take in, and we just getting started with the conversation. When you say like held for ransom and had to pay your own ransom, like what do you mean by that? Like did you have to do like for instance like sexual favors to create income, so then that in turn was paid to him in order for you to like try to get away? Like, was that something that you wanted to do, or did you feel like you was forced to do it, like by him, based off of the lifestyle in which he had you living?
it was one of those situations. Like, I've said it before. At that time, I felt so weird when it came to men. Like after that whole high school situation, I felt smaller when it came to men, you know?
Mm.
So I felt like once you have me at, and you beating me up, you putting me in a hotel room every day, I'm obligated to do this stuff, and you know, you're not letting me go home. I can't tell you no. Like I was legit scared to get help. I was worried, like, dude know where I stay. He got my ID. He takes my phone. I don't speak. Oh yeah, I didn't have my phone for like weeks at a time. He would give me my phone to text people to check in and then take it back. So
Mm.
it was weird. It was a messed up situation. It was a crazy situation, but yeah, I just felt like I couldn't tell him no. And then, so
I
yeah, he
feel
sat me in a room every day.
part of it all, the mental manipulation
Mhm.
that a predator or a narcissist possesses. They just have a way with getting or convincing or persuading people to do the things that they want that directly benefits them, and to hell with who it affects in a negative way along the way, as long as my needs are being met.
Yeah.
Mm.
I didn't eat for, look, I lost 40 pounds in 2 weeks. I wasn't eating for days at a time. I slept in a closet on the floor. It was a one-bedroom apartment. Mind you, it was 8 people.
Oh,
And I was the only one in the closet. And the closet is in the bathroom.
that's
So,
extremely traumatic to have to, man. See, now you telling me stuff that we ain't even discussed, but then that helps me be able to have a bigger vision about everything that you've been through, because we just discussing like your past right now. Stuff is not that way currently, but we just discussing like what led to some of the choices and decisions that you end up making, and now I can see a lot of them is based off of abuse and neglect and manipulation, and that seems to be like every level, and that is like extremely traumatic. um Man, I asked you about like your upbringing, like your parents, and you talked about when the interview first started, you talked about not necessarily not knowing your father, you knew who he was, but he abandoned you at a young age. Like, is that still the current status? Like, do you talk to him? Is there any kind of communication?
Um, no, he actually told my mom to abort me because he had a baby on the way.
Oh,
Yeah, so he really didn't want nothing to do with me in the beginning. The only reason he stuck around, and my mom told me this like a couple months ago, the only reason he stuck around until I was 2 was because he thought my mom was gonna still give him some. He was gonna still get a relationship out of my mother. And once she stopped, once she cut those ties to him, he stopped coming around. Then she got married to my sister's dad, who I picked up when I was 2. I've called that man my dad up until I was 18, and he told me I wasn't his blood. So, yeah.
mm. And that's kind of hard. I'm not excusing the things that was said, but that's kind of hard to play a position, um, especially when it comes to raising somebody else's child. But I feel like that takes a one hell of a man to do so. I had the pleasure of having 2 dads and 2 moms, so I definitely understand where that comes from. I just feel like once you decided or made that decision to do so, that there are certain things that just can't be said after that. Because as a child, I didn't make the final decision. The adults did.
Right.
Simply, moving off of the decisions that was made by the adults in my life. I think that was extremely hurtful for him to tell you that, like, you're not my child. Like, I'm already suffering from abandonment issues from my mom,
Right.
and then you tell me stuff like that. Imagine the psychological damage that you're doing just by saying those things. Forget physically doing something to me. The psychological part, I think, lasts a lot longer than somebody punching you in the face. You know, I can definitely relate to that for sure. As far as not no confusion about who he is, it's about why you didn't show up. You
Yeah.
know what?
And then even as I messaged him, like being older, I've messaged him on some let's have a conversation, let's talk, because I really want to know what did I do? Why don't you want that connection, with me? Why can't I at least know who my father is? And it's
Mm,
always been on some, well, I don't know what your mama told you, but we can have that conversation one day. Which day? Like when? And I haven't heard from him since. Never heard back.
to me, that sounds like guilt. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we can try to pretend like we don't know the people that we brought into this world. But there is always going to be a certain pull, a certain bond, a certain feeling about the children that you created.
Yeah.
Showed up for them or not, I think that's God's way of reminding you, hey, I let you or I allowed you to have this child. Why aren't you showing up for them? Because I'm a firm believer that fathers make or break their daughters. Literally.
Mhm.
By showing up or not showing up, by being healthy or being unhealthy, because just because a father shows up doesn't make him the right fit for the child, because it's about nurturing and giving the child the best possible upbringing
Yeah.
without all the extra drama and unnecessary stuff. But a lot of times what I find with parenting, because you don't have any kids, right? So what I found out with parenting is it's a pattern, um, that I've tried extremely hard to break as far as my upbringing is concerned, because I feel like the disconnect, between me and my dad is part of the reason why I've had poor choice in men, because there was no example set for me to be like, okay, this is the standard and I'm not gonna settle for less than that. It was more so like I started to attract the same man that he is, as far as not being present, not being emotionally intelligent, not showing up for me, not allowing me to walk in my feminine energy and feel like a woman. Like I'm always like on fight or flight mode. You
Literally.
know, feel like that came from the lack of representation from the first man, which is the father. You you dropped the ball. I feel like a lot of children, regardless to how old we are, we all still have an inner child that still wants certain things despite us not being able to give that inner child those things. The body, the inside still yearns for those things. We still expect something from somebody that we obviously know that we never gonna get. And that's a tough pill to swallow at the end of the day, especially when it's your parents. It's like, man, why can't you just be who I want you to be? And I'm quickly learning that at the end of the day, yes, they are our parents, but they still human beings.
Yeah.
And because I'm choosing to heal and work the things that I've been through, don't mean that they are ready. You know what I mean? I feel like we try to push certain scenarios on the person that we got the problem with, and that's simply not our job, to be honest. That's for God to do, to set
Yep.
the tone and set the stage for the conversation, or at least for some understanding. We can agree to disagree, but can you just hear me out? Because this is my experience. This is not what somebody told me. This is what I lived through. Can you just acknowledge that these things happen? Because I'm telling you out of my own mouth that this is what I experienced.
Right.
A lot of parents do, and me included, I've been that parent where I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I really feel like that's something that need to change in our culture, where we need to start listening to our kids. Because
Yep.
stuff going on and they be trying to tell, and we be so dismissive and so impatient that we don't create the environment for them to say, hey, this is what I'm going through. Hey, this is how I'm feeling. Or this is what's going on around me. Like, how do I deal with it? And I think that's deeply rooted in a lot of our parents not sharing their story. Because I'm big on that. I mean, even if my kids never even ask me, I'm big on that. Because I feel like it equips them with the necessary tools to deal with certain situations when they occur. But if I never told you how I dealt with it, then 9 times out of 10, you don't know how to deal. So now you just
Literally.
blind leading the blind, which is you
Mm-hmm.
yourself in the dark. Um, you also talked to man, because we did talked about so much stuff. You talked about at the time, because when I first interviewed you, you was talking about not having the best relationship with your mom. Like you've already discussed like not talking to your dad, but I want to just say that recently that's changed. That situation has changed where you've been able to have a very hard, transparent conversation with her, where you can kind of get some of the stuff off your chest, letting her know, hey, this is how I'm feeling based off of these events.
Not even necessarily. Like I said, that relationship is gonna forever be tricky because we're both Geminis, and because we are, she's a Gemini that didn't go down to I know I have issues and how do I fix them. I'm a Gemini that okay, I'm gonna put myself in a mental hospital because I know I have issues that I need to fix. I need to learn how to communicate this way, you know. So when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to being different in that way and us communicating our problems, it's like when I bring up something she does, you have to say it in a jokingly way, or else she's gonna take defense, like offense to it. She's gonna get on the defensive. It's gonna blow up into a whole argument. Like the reason we stopped talking was because it literally started over dish liquid. Something she could have just, spoke to me about. And I took a deep breath, a huff and puff, because I was cleaning a wig, but she thought I had an attitude at her, and from there it just blew up, and it was just on some okay, well, you're not a nice person, mom, And from me saying you're not a nice person over and over again, it went to her making a phone call and saying, well, I should have aborted her like her dad wanted. That's why I never spoke to her again until recently. Yeah.
I mean, because, hello, I'm here. How could you say that to me? Like, how do you want me to take that? What kind of energy are you expecting me to walk away from? A relationship as complex as the mother and daughter. Because I've also done an episode on that as well. Because that's a very complex relationship
Yeah.
that does not get the type of recognition or resources or conversations that it should be. Because I think a lot of people just automatically believe that the mother and daughter relationship is always good.
We're best
And
friends.
I've quickly learned in my 42 years of life that no, it's a lot of people who choose to just walk away or sever the relationship altogether, regardless to that being their mom.
Hmm.
And I've been forced with that scenario quite a few times. And I've tried to act on it, and it just didn't feel right to me. I I think my problem was I've already felt what abandonment feels like. So then I don't want to cause that feeling to somebody else. And so
That's how I am. I can't leave folks because I know how that feels.
and so then that allows the space and the opportunity for people to take advantage of that because you're in a very vulnerable state where it's like, well, I'm trying to be compassionate. I'm trying to have grace. I'm trying to have some better understanding from where you coming from, because I think a lot of times arguments happen because it's a different point of view, it's a different perspective, and a lot of people choose to only see their perspective and nobody else's, and then that makes things that much harder to have a conversation, to have some understanding, to have a balanced conversation without somebody feeling offended. When you just said that, that was a trigger for me because that is the exact like fight that me and my mother has had for years. Whereas like now I learned like it's my tone for sure. Because I feel like a lot of these conversations are emotionally driven. So I was so bad with it that I could not express myself without going being on 10. You know what I'm saying? I had to learn how to reduce the tone in my voice, make, because I have a very deep raspy voice anyway. So it's like, okay, if I'm trying to be funny or sarcastic, you trying to be funny. Like, don't, you know. So I had to watch what I say and my approach. And I'm not gonna say like it's where I want it to be, but I've just those little small adjustments within myself because I can't expect change from her if I'm gonna stay the same.
Right.
Anybody for that matter. You can't expect change if you not gonna do nothing different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think the definition of insanity is keep doing the same stuff, expecting a
Expecting
different.
it. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us do it. A lot of us do it. I'm guilty. You know, I'm guilty. But I also feel like the lack of communication and see, that's my mom. And been waiting all my life to understand. Man, it gets better, mom. It does. It gets better, and that's only because the two of us take the time to even attempt or try.
Yeah.
Every day may not be good, but so what? As long as we got another day to wake up and try to get it right, I'm okay with that. I'm gonna keep trying, even if we continue to butt heads in the process. I'm gonna keep trying because I realized I only have one mother,
Right.
and she is who she is. She's not who I want her to be, but she is who she is, and it starts with being accepting of people for who they are. And I would
Mm.
rather have that opportunity than not have it at all.
Yeah.
But it's like you got to pick your battles. I choose not to, for this to not be a battle for me no more. You know what I'm saying? When I feel like stuff is not where it needs to be between us, I know to give space.
Right.
You know what I mean? And leave well enough alone. If I'm in communication and I notice that she not in the mood, okay, ma, I'll talk to you later. There's no sense in allowing that to be the reason why we go days, weeks, whatever, without speaking.
Right.
Because what happens when it's all said and done? You know, I think that is my main focus now because I'm watching a lot of my friends lose their mom. And I'm like, wait a minute. I know that eventually all of us got to walk this walk, you know, but wait, I ain't ready
Right.
yet.
Right.
I don't think anybody is ever ready for that. There's no preparation for losing a parent. But I think that it is that much more hurtful when it's your mom because that's who carried you. That's who gave you life. That's who gave you everything in the beginning. You know what I mean? So it's hard to not give credit where it's due. You know, even if it's in the midst of dysfunction and toxicity or whatever, it's still your mom. You know, and I'm learning. I'm a work
Right.
in progress. You know, I don't. You know, Rome wasn't built in one night, and so that's okay. Talk about some of the things, cause ooh, because there's so many things that I want to ask because I've had a slight conversation with my mom about your story, and you said you don't like to talk about it as a kidnapping, but more so a ransom. So, like, was it a personal choice for you to stay within the relationship for as long as you did, or did you feel like you was being forced to stick around?
So there was one time I did message someone trying to get them to come and get me from where I was. I was planning on leaving because, like I said, he would leave me at the hotel and just drop me off in a room. Not a hotel, a motel, and just drop me off in a room and either sit outside or go check on the other girls and then come back. So this is me like planning everything. And he just popped up one day, decided to go through my phone, and he found those messages and he threw the phone at me, hit me in my face, put me in a car, child lock on the car. And when I tell you we went back to that closet that I slept in, he bent me over and whipped me like I was his child and then got mad that I wasn't crying. So then he started punching on me. Got mad I wasn't crying, so he left me in the dark and just told me to think about what I did. So it was one of those situations where it was like, okay, I'm sitting here, you're literally putting me in a room, you're collecting the money, you're talking to people, you know what they're coming here for. I have no idea. You know what they're coming in here for. And it he kept making it to where it was like, it's okay. Once you get enough money, I'm gonna put you in your own spot. You don't have to be here with us and yada yada yada. And I'm just sitting here in your head in the situation that you're in. You're thinking, okay, it can get better than what you're dealing with right now. You know, yeah, yeah, he got you sleeping in the closet. Yeah, he beating you up, but he said that you're making this money so he can get you out of this closet and put you in your own apartment. So maybe it does get better. Like it was really one of those mindsets. And like, there have been moments where I've saved him from going to jail because I don't know. It's one of those moments where you're brainwashed or you're being manipulated by your abuser, and it was just like I couldn't help but protect him because he's trying to do what's best for me, like it,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so it was a weird situation. It, my mindset in the moment, the things he was telling me in the moment, yeah.
That's heavy. So like once you got away and was able to like live somewhat of a normal life, because I don't think that it's a such thing as a normal life after experiencing some of the things that you've been through. Like, how was your mom or any of your family, like, how did they help to kind of try to get you back on track after going through something as traumatic as that? Because that's a lot. That is the who I'm over here like I'm sweating. Like, what is going on? Like,
Yeah.
so like, did your family know like this was the lifestyle that you was living? Like, and that's why nobody showed up, or did they just?
In the beginning, I'm not gonna lie. In the beginning, yeah. Like I said, that person, he was the third one. I want to say, because I had two willingly, just being in that mindset at the time. I had two willingly, and he was the third one. It just wasn't willing. It wasn't willingly, but my parents had already known I was dancing. My parents had already knew about that whole situation and stuff like that.
Oh, so that's how you kind of got in the lifestyle. You started out dancing.
Mhm.
Okay, okay. Cause I'm like, okay, what is the connection from the high school to now? And how?
I used
Cause
to
I could definitely.
teach preschool. I used to teach preschool.
My
Like
God, preschool teacher.
yeah, I stopped teaching preschool because my mom, she ended up getting a job when my little brother was around 6 months, and I was watching him from like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and they were only giving me $300 something every couple of weeks, whatever they could give me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm an adult. I just left my teaching job to come help you. So I need more money. Like there needs to be another source of income. So what job can you get at night that's income is gonna be flowing?
That's exactly how I. Woo-wee.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy because you think about the alternatives to working. Like you said, it's a late night job. What other places can I work at after hours?
Yeah. And then it was the
God,
pimp that got me my first stuff.
when you young, where you going? You ain't got too many options. And that's exactly how I ended up in the club, for sure.
I was gonna say, hey, yeah, that pimp, it was easy for him. He bought me my first outfit. He bought me my first pair of shoes. He got my hair done, and he was like, "Since you want to be in the club, I'll help you get in the club." So he paid my house fee. Like I didn't have to pay anything, but in not knowing, I'm finna be giving you all of that money back. So
I'm sorry, Jalen. What you say? It was who that gave you? Oh, she's talking about her pimp. This is how she ended up in these relationships that led to the trafficking and all of that. She's telling you like she's had multiple interactions and relationships with pimps. The first two was willingly, meaning she knew exactly what she was doing and she was okay with it. The last one is the one who was abusive and was doing stuff that she did not want to do. That's a big difference. It's one thing when you're doing something on your own versus when somebody is making you do something.
with your own body.
Yeah. Boy, the stories I could tell, I'm trying to tell you. um, see, I know this. You also did some modeling, like OnlyFans and stuff like that. Like, kind of like, cause boy, I'd have been listening to this OnlyFans stuff for years, and I have no idea how to operate it, how people is actually making money off of it. I don't know any of this stuff. And I actually created one for myself and I didn't know what to do with it. So I ended up closing it down because I'm like, what was the purpose of me opening it up and I don't even know how to do nothing on here? It's like Snapchat to me. I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying because I don't understand the little small little conversation. I'm not a texter really. I prefer to talk to people. So
Mhm.
that app don't work for me. I, but kind of talk about like the OnlyFans thing. Was that just like another business venture after the dancing, and then that kind of led to because you have accomplished a lot, even
I'm
through
only 23.
right, even through your trauma and stuff. you have accomplished a lot. Like, so did the OnlyFans, was that just like an extra source of income that somebody taught you about and you was kind of using kind of
So, that first pimp that I had, I'm not gonna lie. Don't I'm this is don't You don't ever need a pimp. But that was the first pimp that I could say did help and was actually sweet because he showed me OnlyFans. He had us doing OnlyFans. We were cam girls. Um we would go on nice dinner dates and not have to do anything, just get dressed up and be pretty. Like it was a lot of different things. And then he had set me up with a brand. It was a new brand. I don't even think they officially came out to this day still. But it was a new brand and they needed girls for photo shoots. So that's when I started modeling then. But he had us doing a lot of different things to make money. And in his mind, he never wanted us to have to take our clothes off or lay down for money. So, and he had his own three businesses himself. So it was never on no, I don't know. Like OnlyFans, it started with him. We started that together. But he kept saying you can do other stuff on OnlyFans. You don't have to just, have sex on there. You can do other stuff on OnlyFans.
yeah,
You
that's
can.
all I hear people saying, and I'm like, well, so this is a like Pornhub, but you subscribe to like I'm I'm in the dark about it, so that's why I'm asking these questions.
uh,
I hear people keep referencing to it, a lot of celebrities and well-known people, and I'm like, what could they possibly be doing on there? You know, I'm just
Mhm.
now about tagged and what to do on there. So
Yeah.
now, you know what I'm saying? So now all some of these other websites and apps and stuff, I don't have a clue. Like I'm clueless. I'm like, oh, okay. I heard about it, I tried it, it didn't work for me. But I realized no, I didn't. You have to have a blueprint for a lot of these business ventures, especially when you're talking about online and modeling and porn, because I've had a past guest, former porn star, like tell me some things that I didn't even know existed.
Mhm.
Just a very full in-depth scope of the industry itself because it's so many layers to it. I think people only focus on certain things like the dancing and maybe the porn, but it's so many different layers in between those two that people have no idea.
Yeah, because
You
I was gonna say he's one of the ones that put me on to the dominatrix
know.
thing. That
Hmm.
that's I'm not gonna lie. A lot of, like you said, sometimes your trauma leads you down certain roads. And after all the things that I got raped 3 times in high school, so after that, in my head, oh, okay, if y'all are gonna continue taking something from me, I'm gonna start making money from it. So that's how that first pimp came to be. Then once he told me about, well, when I told him about, all of my experiences, and he realized I genuinely, like, I'm gay. To this day, I'm gay. I don't like men. I have a disgust towards some men. And so once he realized that, he was like, dominatrix, more money. Now you could take your anger out on men if you want to. Men are gonna pay you to take your anger out on them. So it's just like, the more stuff you learn, it was a lot.
Because people don't know it's a whole lifestyle. Ooh, with that.
Yeah.
And you be surprised what some of the people around you is into in their personal time. You know, no disrespect to nobody, because to each his own. We like what we like.
Mm-hmm.
But I just feel like it's such a stereotype when it comes to certain things that still fall up under the same umbrella. It's just not your cup of tea, but it's somebody's shot of
Mm-hmm.
liquor. What I'm saying? And so I can see how the traumatic experiences you had at a young age catapulted you to the point where you like, I do not want to be bothered with a man
I
at
don't.
all.
Even on that app, on Tag, yeah, I have to sit there and entertain people and be nice and be welcoming. But once you get to flirting with me and you're talking to me about my appearance, my looks, I get disgusted, especially if I know you're not going to give me no money. See, you see how that mindset is now. If
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm not going to get no benefit from this conversation and you throwing out these compliments and these catcalls and stuff, then it's not needed. It's disgusting to me.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me feel, I don't know, it makes me feel weird.
It makes, and I'm let's just say it, so then we can clear the elephant in the room. It is a lot of chauvinistic behavior when it comes to men that has made women ball up and not want to be bothered.
Not to mention he's been in my stream on tagged before. The dude from high school.
Oh wow.
And I was sitting there talking about it on tagged and he was like, "Well, I don't think that's how it went down. We're not finna do that. That's not what we're about to do." Yeah,
Wow.
like I
Mm,
said,
so
you
you,
was already telling people I was a hoe.
so you want to show up and pull scabs off because I feel like every time something happens that reminds you of the past trauma, it's like ripping the scab off of a sore. You
Yeah.
rip scabs off. You want to see me bleed. To me, that's like you saying like, I really don't care if I'm hurting you.
And then I block you so you make a new page to come back.
Hmm. I also feel like a lot of people do stuff like that because they want to see if they still got access. We don't realize how important that is to set boundaries and keep certain people out.
Mhm.
And that is not a disrespect to them. It's more of a piece for me. Because if I've already had a certain experience with you, why would I allow myself to endure anything like that again? Or give you the space and opportunity to repeat something? Because sometimes people show back up in your life so they can do more damage. Not because they genuinely feel bad about what they did and they ready to
Right.
own it and apologize. No, some people come back so they can finish you.
Yeah.
And that's very unfortunate, but we got some pretty sick mentally people in this world. Really. And a lot of them suffer from mommy and daddy issues for sure.
Mhm.
And that is not a male or female thing. I think that is across the spectrum. Because not a lot of people are not a lot of people don't like themselves. I think that is the number one reason why a lot of people do the things that they do. Because if I'm unhappy with myself, how can I actually look at somebody else and be happy with anything that comes with them if I don't even like looking at myself in the mirror?
Mhm.
Or if the way I treat myself is disgusting, but I'm expecting somebody to treat me with the most respect. Like, you have to make it make sense. I tell a lot of people, you gonna attract who you are, not who you want to be. And the sooner you understand just that small little snippet in life, you will avoid a whole lot of disappointment, a whole lot of heartbreak, a whole lot of, I just see the potential in them. And I'm not just speaking to the people that's in the live. I'm speaking to myself when I say that. And
Mhm.
a lot of it comes from the brainwashing, the manipulation. Because in my case, I feel like the same person kept showing up in different bodies.
Mhm.
The reason
Me
that
too.
is because we haven't healed whatever that attraction is to that person.
And it's
It's a
crazy. That was one of the things that drove me to the mental hospital because I felt like I kept attracting the same person because I wasn't healed. Like I said, I'm one of those spiritual people, and I definitely feel like people leave remnants of themselves with you. They linger.
soul tie.
So, yeah,
Oh,
definitely. So that was one of the reasons I went in there because I was like, I gotta look. Let's figure it out. What's going on? I can't do it no more. Like, and then that's how I learned how to communicate. Because even the relationship I'm in right now with her, we have certain traits, but you can tell she got that from past relationships. Me going to where I went to learn how to communicate, me learning how to communicate is helping her communicate. Like, I just sometimes you need to, like you said, figure it the frick out. Just get it taken care of. Go to them places because I needed the help. I needed to get rid of the toxic traits that came from my past to be able to move on because that was really keeping me back for the longest. It kept me in a depressive state.
Whew. And that's one thing that I don't think a lot of women understand. Because, we was just talking about different stuff that women endure silently. And
Hmm.
we don't really discuss. We have certain people we will discuss it with, but we really don't discuss that much about what we really going through. You also told me about being pregnant at some point in your life and losing your child.
When I was getting beat up. Hmm.
That is yet another traumatic experience to go through. That needs its own therapy session by itself. When you start talking about, okay, I've been told that I'm having a baby, this life is growing inside of me, and then I'm told like this
I didn't
baby
even know.
not breathing, no heartbeat, nothing.
I didn't even know until I went to the hospital and found out I lost the baby that I was pregnant. Yeah. And the crazy thing is the person I was with prior to being kidnapped, the person I was with, we did want a child at one point. So had I known, things would have been completely different, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But seeing as though I didn't know and then I find out I lost that child, it really to that took it all. I was already getting beat up every day. I wasn't eating. Now I lost a child. I was able to create a life, and I now I can't. Yeah, either you're going to take me out of this world, or I'm going to do it myself right here in front of you. So you need to pick one. And he just looked at me and was like, "Yeah, you need to go home. You need to get help." I'm glad you know
We
that.
can't help, bro. Okay,
Like,
no acknowledgement or accountability for you needing some help. You need some help that you feel like you have to belittle, tear, and destroy women in order to feel better about yourself.
mind you, there were times where his son stayed there some days. So there were days where you're hitting a female in front of your son, and in my head, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I hope his son don't grow up like this. There are moments where you went to go and beat me up in that closet, but you had to tell him, turn on the TV and turn it all the way up before you come in there. Like, that's a child.
Hmm. And they pick up everything. It only take them once or twice to see or hear something, and they
I was the one, yeah.
mm-hmm.
I was one of them ones having to tell him to stop because that wasn't his only child. He had a son and a daughter. And when his daughter was over there, his son was always trying to beat up on the girl, trying to play fight. And I'm always like, no, that's a little girl. You don't do that. Like, you need to stop. And because I'm not his mom and because his dad was putting his hands on me, I had no authority to him. So he'll just sit there and laugh in my face and then go back to and I didn't like that.
Mm. Training his child up to be just like him. That's terrible. That's terrible. The karma behind that
Thank
as
you.
a parent. I wouldn't want to be in his shoes right now because children are a blessing. Our job as parents is to make sure that they experience here on earth is a positive one, a happy one, a joyous one, a fun one. Um, you know, and a lot of kids are not getting even the bare minimum. A hug, a kiss, a I love you, some support for somebody to show up for them. Hell, just tell me that I matter and that my life is not in vain, that I'm here for a purpose or a reason. And that my goals and dreams and aspirations and feelings matter. I think that does so much damage by itself. Absolutely, you will. I'll be posting it as soon as we done. You sure will. For joining, I do. I guess we'll talk about the good things that you're doing. You've been through so much and you're so young. Yeah, you have so much life ahead of you. Um, you do music, how has that like helped with like your journey to healing and kind of getting, you know, past some of the things that you've been through, so you can do things like you doing right now, having this very hard transparent conversation with me? How does music play into that? Like, how do you utilize music to kind of help you get through?
So a lot of my emotions come out of my music because I'm a very like creative person, I guess you could say. Anytime I get emotional, I'm either gonna write it in a letter, I'm gonna write some music, I'm gonna write a poem. But I that's one of the ways I've learned while I was in the hospital. I had a journal. That was one of the things they told us to do. You know, when you're feeling
Mm-hmm.
pent up aggression, you have to get it out. Right. And so the first thing I did when I came out of the hospital, I sat in my parents' car because they were the ones whose house I went to. I sat there, I listened to this beat over and over, and immediately I just started talking about something about the way I feel inside my mind. It hurts my heart and hurts my pride. And I just kept going. I wrote a whole song from there, just talking about the way I felt.
That's so dope.
It was crazy.
Um,
But yeah, I love it.
Music. I feel like music is so necessary for a lot of people because it definitely shapes and changes the mood and the environment. You know what I'm saying? With the things you going through. Cause I turn to music for everything.
Yeah,
Regard,
literally.
I have to because for me it's how I express myself. I know a lot of people out here they listen to certain music because the words kind of align with what they going through in life, and that kind of helps with you realizing like I'm not the only one
Mhm.
that's like this. I'm not the only one that's going through this. And I think that helps break barriers so people can actually be like, okay, like I'm not alone. And I think as long as we keep doing things like this, having these conversations, um, bringing awareness to a lot of stuff that I think a lot of people whisper about versus talking about out loud, that we can kind of change the trajectory of us as a culture, as a people, um, to start healing ourselves, to start working on ourselves. Because I tell people, stop running from yourself
Mhm.
because that's what we do.
And you can't get to your higher self if you don't tend to yourself now or that childlike self. You can't run from it. That was something I had to learn.
You can run, but it's gonna be there before you get there.
Yeah, right. Where you gonna go? Where you?
Where you running
Where?
to, you can't avoid it. You also told me that you're gonna write a book.
I It's
Yeah,
called Blame My
about
Daddy.
this book. It's called what?
Blame My Daddy.
That's a
I'm writing the
powerful title. Why did you give the book that title?
It's called Blame My Daddy because it's okay. It's gonna be a three-part type situation. The first one is gonna be Blame My Daddy. The second one is gonna be Blame My Mama, and then the last one is really I'm blaming myself.
Mm,
So
that's
my
that's ooh. Mm. So we gotta talk about the blame your daddy part first. Like,
so with the Blame My Daddy book, that one is really just gonna talk about my relationships with the men that have been in my life. It's gonna start off with my biological father, then to that second father I had, to the dad that I have now that I'm so very much so grateful for. But because of those relationships I've had, it's gonna talk about my relationships with men, intimately. And daddy is a double entendre. That's something you call your father, but something you also call your pimp. So I blame them too. I blame them for where I am now,
mm,
So that's what that one's more so gonna be about. It's talking about that.
man,
Yeah.
well, that's deep. Well, hurry up and get this book done so I can hurry up read it. Man.
Working on it.
Woo! Man. Um, you also do nails
Yeah.
and a hairline that you currently doing right now. Let's talk about that because the nail stuff, is that something that you picked up to kind of help with, because you also suffer from depression, anxiety, and some other issues? So is nails something that,
ADHD, all of them.
right? So tell, yes, I'm so glad that you talked about that. Tell the people what you say about that, because you say they don't have
Yeah.
me.
So I don't have these depressions, disorders, and nothing like that. I'm just dealing with them currently. That's all. I don't. When you say you have something, that's you claiming it. I don't want it for the rest of my life. I'm not claiming it. I'm just
Mm,
dealing with it so I can get rid of it. That's all. So
way of put, ooh, that's powerful right there. That's a good way of looking
my
at.
dad taught me that.
Okay.
Hmm.
um. So before we close out, your brand is Sex Studios. Tell the followers and the people that's in the live, like, how they can follow you on what social media platforms, and how they can kind of tap into the business ventures that you got going on.
Um. So I have so much going on when it comes to the nails and the hair. You guys can follow me on here. It's in my bio on my page, Nailed by Stacks. I'm changing it to Stacks Studio soon, but it's in my bio. I'm also working on writing songs for other people as well. So y'all want to do music, y'all can get at me for that. Um, but I mean, yeah, this is where you find me. I'm always on Instagram. I'm always here. I'm untagged. That's basically it. Y'all will always find me on here.
My daughter said, "Is the hair you currently wearing from your hairline?"
Yes, yes it is. And
Oh, check you out.
I colored it myself too.
She love it. Trust me, her hair is green right now. She love it. Yeah, she love it. Trust me.
Thank
She
you.
about on your page. She said you eating down with that.
Thank you.
That's right. I love uplifting my
Yeah,
people.
I'm a girl's girl. That's what I'm saying. I love.
So honored and grateful that you let me use my platform to tell your story. And I just appreciate you, because you don't know how many people you gonna help by you being vulnerable tonight and just telling your truth. And
Thank you
man,
for
I,
having
I look
me.
forward to you being the guest on other topics, because we just got so much to talk about. You just such a intelligent, ahead of your time young woman. Like, the things you've been through, I am telling you,
Thank
it's older women that, oh, they wouldn't been able to walk in your
I say that
shoes. So I
all the
am,
time.
like, just telling the young women out here, hey man, be safe. Here,
Yeah,
here,
seriously.
put yourself first. I'm big on that. I tell my kids,
And
hey,
don't
put your,
trust everybody, not even your own friends sometimes.
yeah, cause they'll be have you in some predicaments that you ain't got no business in.
Mm-hmm.
Follow your gut.
Yep,
Think that's the most important part, because if you won't listen to yourself, you ain't gonna listen to nobody else.
exactly.
So, hey y'all, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. This has been another episode of Unspoken Truth with my guest Cheeky. Make sure you follow her and check her out. Her hair, nails, and she also does music. I love you, Cheeky.
Thank y'all. I love y'all too.
You
Thank y'all
enjoy
so much.
your night, and
You
make sure
too.
stay tuned for future episodes, and let's see what other stuff we can conversate about in the future.
Will do. Thank you.
Bye, y'all. I love y'all. See y'all next week. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, we was kind of loud.
I don't care. I know how to remove the background noise. So we good. Hey man, I ain't think she was gonna tell all that.
She looked like what she been
23 years old.
She looked like what she been through. I just
man, Jalen was in there like 22.
Right.
Mom, she like my age. Like what's going on? Like you don't never know what nobody been through.
Yeah.
Man, she been through some shit.
Like, yeah.
There was a lot of people in here tonight. Like I got a lot of new people followers. It's just a lot of really like. Okay, we gonna get chocolate, or you want me to go get her?
We could get her. We could get her. Is she going to the place?
No, she said she gonna come watch the kids. I thought.
Oh, okay.
Here come Carmen. Look.